I'm floating in the pool at night. My beautiful family's in the house sleeping, and I've got all the toys. I've got the Maserati and the rolls and the boats and the jet skis, all the stuff. And I'm looking up at this thing. It's changing. The pool's changing color. It's got fiber optic lighting, and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego. It was to prove that, if that didn't do it, good God, what would? And so I looked up at this thing. This was 2 months after I moved in, and I got depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was like, holy shit, depressed. And I'm like, what is going on? I've just achieved success like times 10,000. And what was happening was several things.
Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the Hunt for Incredible. Welcome back to another episode of The Hunt for Incredible, where we tease out the mindset and actions of how people do incredible things. On today's episode, I'm very excited. So our guest has built a real estate portfolio and in 2008 lost $50 million in the crash and ended up bouncing back to thousands of units. He's written a book and he has a lot of incredible things going on. We have my man, Rod Khleif. Rod, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, buddy. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm stoked to dive in. So with that, you come from humble beginnings and you've built a lot, and it's easy for people to see where you are today and say, oh, well, that's easy for him because, he has connections and he has this and that. I want to give people context because a big theme of this show is that people aren't born incredible. They simply had the mindset and actions to do incredible things. So give people some context of where you come from and what your journey to get here looks like.
Sure. Well, so I am a Dutch immigrant. Think wooden shoes and windmills. I immigrated to this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother Svancha. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, where I lived for 30 years. And when we got there, we didn't have much. In fact, I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army. I remember we shopped at an expired food store because that's all we could afford. They had an expired food store, believe it or not. And, drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And, we really struggled. We had love, but not much else. And luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she was a bit of an entrepreneur. So she invested in the stock market successfully, no formal education. And she also invested in real estate. Now, her first real estate acquisition was a house right across the street from us when she bought for about $30,000 when I was 14. Then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? And this is when $20,000 was a lot of money. Okay, this is like 1977. And I'm like, you made $20,000? You didn't do anything? Screw college. I'm getting into real estate. So I went out and got my real estate license and thought I was going to be rich in real estate. Well, my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. My second year, I made about $10,000. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was some serious change. And so what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology and how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the mechanical stuff we talk about on our podcast. Well, you talk a lot more about mindset on yours than me, but on my podcast, it's primarily technical, and so 80 to 90% is mindset. You actually have to take action with what you learn. And so, I met him. Fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses I've rented long term. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might say, wow. And I said, wow. And if you want to do the math on that, it's like $8,300 an hour for the year. And I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a door. Thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little slap down. Well, that was 2008. Like you mentioned, I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008 and 9. And so, what I'm known for talking about is the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And then probably, maybe even more important than that is the mindset it took to recover from that. And I'm in thousands of apartment units now. Like you said, I'm getting into senior housing. Life is fantastic, but it sucked to lose $50 million. And so I get asked a lot, how do you recover from that? So if you'd like, I'm happy to drill down on some of the strategies that I implemented to recover. And they're the same strategies that I used to get there in the first place. And what, people might benefit from, if someone's listening that, has a regular job, they know they need to go out and do something else. They want more for their family. They want time freedom, money freedom, whatever. Then, some of these strategies might help them if you want to go down on that. Okay. All right. So, the first thing is goal setting. Because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? You got to know what it is you want. And more importantly, you need to know why you want it. And so, that's the first thing we do because, you've got to create what Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, calls a burning desire. You got to want it because otherwise you're not going to push through the fear. You're not going to push through limiting beliefs that you may have. Or maybe you're comfortable and the comfort zone's a nice warm place and we all know not a damn thing grows there. So, you've got to get uncomfortable to create that life you want. And it starts with goals. You got to know what it is you want and you've got to get juiced. And so we start with that. So you do your goals, you get a line, you figure out what it is you want, and then you've got to make a decision. And so like when I lost everything, I reassociated with my goals. Okay. That was the first thing I did. It's like, okay, I hid under a rock for a couple months with my eyeball poking out, feeling sorry for myself. But, then I got my ass up and I'm like, okay, it's time to get back on track here. Reassociated with my goals. And my goals have evolved over the years, but did that. And then I had to make a decision. And if you're in that place, even if you're just wanting to get started, start with the goals. Here's a sad reality. People spend more time planning a freaking birthday party or a Christmas party than they do designing their lives. Doing your goals is designing your life. But then you got to make a decision. And, the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. It's not dipping your toe in the water. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. When you make that decision, it's done. A great analogy would be if you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. That's a decision, right? It's done. So you make that decision. So that's the next piece. And then I decided, okay, no more pity party back then when I lost everything. It's time to get going. And then you got to take that first step. And Dr. Martin Luther King says, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. Lao Tzu, thousands of years ago, said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But you got to take that step. You got to actually take some action, right? And sometimes it can be a small step, but it can be the biggest step in your life. But you've got to, you make that decision. Enough is enough. You get leverage on yourself and you take that first step and take action. And then it starts that snowball effect going downhill. But you got to take that first step. There are some other strategies, like, for example, who you hang out with. When I was in your peer group, that is, and when I was in Tony Robbins, I spent 20 years with Tony Robbins. I'm sure you know who that is, yes?
Yep.
And I was on his team for 8 years and credit him as one of my greatest mentors. And I was in his platinum partnership, which is his high-level mastermind. And I was around people in that, and right when the crash was happening, and I was around people that were freaking killing it in the crash. Okay, I mean they had planned, they had prepared, unlike me. And I thought I was set for life with the 800 houses that I had and multiple apartment complexes, But so I was around people that were killing it, and they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million, schmillion, go make something happen. That's who you want to be around when this stuff hits the fan, right? And so be very careful who you allow to influence you is my advice as well. Most people will default to a peer group they went to school with or that they work with. And, they may have their own issues, their own fears, their own limiting beliefs that will hold you back. Maybe they're afraid of you succeeding and they'll feel less than, or maybe they're afraid of losing you if you succeed and they'll claw you back. And sometimes it's family. And I'm going to tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your peers. Very, very important. But, get in groups of people that want more out of life, that have a plan, that have a dream, that are taking action on their dreams, because a rising tide lifts all ships. And so that's who you want to be around if you're ready to take your life to the next level, which I was when I was recovering and also, when I first got started. And so let's talk for a minute about limiting beliefs and fears. When I immigrated this country, I got thrown into school. And I was 6 years old. I didn't speak English, discovered bullies for the first time. So I got my ass kicked on occasion. And then my mom thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in these. This is the actual scene of the crime. These are the actual shoes I had to wear. We found them when I got put in assisted living, okay? These wooden shoes. And these leather shorts that the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. So you can imagine that was crack cocaine for the bullies. I got my ass kicked again. The bullies would chase me home and my mom would chase them off with a fly swatter. So the next day I got my ass kicked. And I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. And I used to ask myself, how can I show them I'm good enough? Which of course presupposed that I wasn't. And so a lot of people have these limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. The thing I want to remind you of, if you are consciously aware of one of these, now sometimes you're not consciously aware, but if you're consciously aware, recognize the fact that the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are BS. But, we have some emotional thing happen in our lives and we think they're real and they're not. And so, I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 kids in class, and now I speak in front of thousands of people a year in flip-flops. If you are aware of a limiting belief, you drag it out into the daylight, you look at it consciously, you recognize it's BS, it will ultimately dissipate. So if you're aware of a belief system that you have that doesn't serve you, do that, because I promise you it's very, very likely BS.
Yeah. And just to jump in for a second is humans are only born with two fears, the fear of bright lights and the fear of loud noises. Everything else after that is constructed from our experiences. And so if we have something that holds us back or a fear that spiked or a limiting belief, oftentimes we can trace it back to a singular event. And the second we can trace it back to a singular event, we can rewrite and remove that belief just as quickly as we created it. And that is part of deconstructing, and then reconstructing our thoughts and our beliefs and our dispositions toward those things.
Sometimes though, you're not aware. Sometimes you're not sure why you feel that way. And I can tell you that was the case with me with some other limiting beliefs that I had. So, sometimes, you may not be, but if you are aware of what the event was, for sure, you rewrite it. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh yeah, good God. Yeah, like this. And I had another experience that I don't usually talk about it, but I'll bring it up just because it's kind of funny. It's not funny. It was sad at the time. And I had this crush on this girl named Carolyn. Okay. Well, I was 9 years old, beautiful curly hair, cutest thing I'd ever seen. Never talked to her, of course, but I was in love, right? I made the mistake of telling my friend Becky Grills that I liked Carolyn. Okay. It was liked back then, right? Big mistake. So I'm out on the playground. I see Carolyn walking towards me with what felt like half the school. It was only probably about 8, 10 kids. Comes up to me, and I'd never even looked her in the eye before. She comes up, she says, "Do you like mustard?" And I'd have said yes to anything. It was the first time I ever talked to her. "Yeah, I like mustard." She said, "Well, I hate mustard and I hate you." And everybody laughed. Yeah, doesn't sound like much, but that was really traumatic. We all have this stupid crap like that's happened when we were kids. But if you're consciously aware and you know that it's limiting you, drag it out in the daylight, look at it, you can dissipate it. It takes time, but the key word is consciously. You consciously drag it into the daylight. Think about it. Don't let it pass up. And then the other piece, besides limiting beliefs, is fear. Everybody has fear. So what is fear? F everything and run. I like to think it's false evidence appearing real, for sure, because typically we're fearing the emotion of fear rather than what's really happening. And, I like to say it's face everything and rise. The most successful people on the planet have fear. They just push through in spite of it. And so, I would encourage you that if you have a fear of failure, for example, fear regret much worse. Fear regret much worse than failure. We fail our way to success. I call them seminars when they fail. That was a $50 million seminar. It was an expensive freaking seminar, okay? But don't get me wrong. And if you meet anybody who's lost more than that, I appreciate you connecting them with me so I can feel a little better about it. But I've built 29 businesses so far in my lifetime. I counted a couple years ago, and I was shocked how many it was. Several were tens of millions of dollars. I've got 2 right now that are, but most were spectacular flaming seminars, okay? And so, we fail our way to success. So don't fear failure. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you're fearing failure, no, fear freaking regret. Fear being in the same place you are right now, a year from now, 2 years from now, because there's no worse feeling than regret. In fact, I'll give you an example of this. There's a woman named Bronnie Ware. She was a hospice nurse in Australia, and she took care of patients when they were about to die. She asked him a question, Gideon, and the question was, "Do you have any regrets?" And she wrote a book about it. It's a bestseller called something like The 5 Regrets of Dying or something like that. The number one regret was not living the life I could have living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Fear that. Don't fear failure, okay? You get your butt up when you get knocked down. If you don't make your vehicle, and what I mean by that is, like, for me, I teach multifamily. That's a vehicle, okay? You do boutique hotels. No, that's a vehicle. If you don't make your vehicle your identity, when it fails, you're not a failure. It failed, but you're not a failure, right? So it's very, very, very important that you don't align with your vehicle. Like when I lost $50 million, I wasn't a failure. I felt like one for a little bit. Obviously, I thought I was set for life. But the bottom line is, it failed. I didn't fail, okay? And when you have that parallel or that comparison, for lack of a better word, really, then you get your butt back up.
Hey, quick pause here. If you're getting value from these conversations, it would mean the world to me if you took 10 seconds right now to leave a 5-star review. Each review directly helps us reach more people who can benefit from these incredible conversations. And if you're looking to buy a hotel or invest in one of our deals, or even if you just want to say, hey, you can send us an email at hello@thehuntforincredible.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now back to the show. I love that, though. There's no such thing as failure, just expensive lessons.
That's it. That's it. It's only a failure if you don't get your butt back up or you don't get the lesson, period. Then it's a failure if you don't get back up. But if you get back up and get started again, it's a lesson. We get more benefit and we learn more from our setbacks. I would encourage you to welcome critical feedback throughout your life, because that's how you grow and you become better. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? You told me your story about, your beautiful bride having challenges, your other members of your family having challenges, and you get through that stuff and you're stronger for it. And same with my $50 million seminar. I'm much stronger because that happened. And so, but the last thing I'll mention is gratitude. This is going to sound foofy, but trust me on this. This is really, really important. So gratitude's the most important foundational emotion that we have available to us. It strengthens our immune system. It lowers our blood pressure. It brings us closer to our spirituality, but it's also how you manifest everything you want in life, okay? And I've used it to manifest everything I want in life. So what I'll do most mornings is I'll sit in my recliner over in my other office here, and I'll just be grateful for the people I love in my life, my students, my foundation, and I'll just do gratitude. But then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. Sometimes I'll get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet, okay? And I know I lost some of you analytical ones on this, but this is how I had 50 million to freaking lose and how I got it back. So ignore it at your peril, because it freaking works, okay? This is how you manifest everything. And I've got vision boards. They're actually over there. No, that's right. They're not here. They're over in the other building. But I've got vision boards sitting next to me. So I'll just be looking at those as I'm doing gratitude. And I got to tell you stuff, guys, this is how you do it. This is how you get what you want in life, and how you manifest it is you do it through gratitude. So use gratitude.
So really quickly, let's dive into that for a second. So when you are showing gratitude for the things you don't even have yet, what does that look like? Are you closing your eyes, visualizing
it? Thank you, God, for this. Thank you, God, for that. Thank you. I just give gratitude for something as if I already have it. I try to think about what I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, all of it. I try to incorporate as many of the senses as I can as I'm doing gratitude. One of the things I used to do that I would actually need to do again is I actually recorded myself saying it, and I used to listen to the recordings of it. Okay, and like I mentioned, I've got thousands of apartment units now. I've come back. I'm very driven to continue to build and grow and add value. And yeah, and you talked about how you want to add value on your podcast as well. It's really funny. When I started my podcast, I used to tell people, and this was 8-9 years ago, I'll never sell you anything. I just wanted to add value, and that was the truth of it. And I took hundreds of phone calls from my listeners. My podcast, by the way, is called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing, and I'm blessed to say it's the largest real estate podcast in the world for commercial real estate. And it's because I focus on adding value. The most successful people on the planet add the most value. But I used to say in early episodes, I'll never sell you anything. I just want to add value. Now I'm a liar because I sell everything, but I never plan to. You want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans. But the last thing I want to mention to you, Gideon, is and this speaks to goal setting. So when I got to Denver, I always knew I wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver. It's right in the middle of the country. But I would visualize, the beach, the sand, the surf, the waves, the palm trees. And 20 years later, I built this incredible mansion on the beach, 10,000 square feet. I had the beach on one side, I had my boats on the back side. It was called a Gulf to Bay, and it's literally right behind us here on Casey Key. And just to describe this place, I had a giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get to the pool. I had a big spiral staircase up through the middle of the house, wine cellar, elevator. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around the staircase. It cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. And I worked for this thing for 20 years. And there's just a big message in this. This is not me bragging. There's a big message here. I worked for this thing for 20 years. And 2 months after I moved in, this ties into goals, by the way. 2 months after I moved in, I'm floating in the pool at night. My beautiful family's in the house sleeping. And I've got all the toys. I've got the Maserati and the rolls and the boats and the jet skis, all the stuff. And I'm looking up at this thing. It's changing. The pool's changing color. It's got fiber optic lighting. And I'm looking up at this. It's good enough. If that didn't do it, good God, what would? And so I looked up at this thing. This was 2 months after I moved in. And I got depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was like, holy shit, depressed. And I'm like, what is going on? I've just achieved success like times 10,000. And what was happening was several things. Number one is you never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it. You know, like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. I didn't have a vision for the future, so I didn't know what I was going to do next. And the second thing is it's never about the goals. You know, the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat. Happiness comes from progress and growth. That's how you're happy. So that was the second piece. But the third piece is I was totally focused on Rod. Rod. Show the world I matter. Show the world I'm good enough. Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's the year I met Tony Robbins. And I went to one of his events and saw that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'm embarrassed I had to be 40 to get that memo. And I went home and I called my brother and we decided to feed 5 families in Denver because I was flying there for Thanksgiving. So he called his church, found out who really needed some help, went out and had a lot of fun buying the food. This was for Thanksgiving. We bought frozen turkeys. We bought toys for the kids if they had kids. Third family changed my life. We go up to the door. It's this woman with 5 kids. And she's in, it's not even a 1-bedroom. It was like this crappy 1-bedroom because you had to walk through the bedroom to get to the kitchen, which had the bathroom off of it. She's there with 5 kids, Hispanic woman. She comes out, she sees all the stuff on the porch. She starts crying. Her kids come out, 2 of the older ones start crying. I start crying, and I was hooked. And please know what I'm going to say next is not ego. There's a real message in this if you're listening. So don't hang up. This is really important. In the last now 25 years, I've fed over 150,000 kids here in this area for the holidays, at-risk children. I've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local kids. We just ordered 2,000 for August. I've done thousands and thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in vehicles if they encounter a child, that's been in a traumatic situation. And again, I'm not saying this to brag. We've been taught in this society to achieve to be happy. Like we shouldn't be happy until we've achieved. But if you incorporate giving back, like right now, you're happily achieving. And I know it's a play on words. Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment, okay? But fulfillment is an art, okay? You got to figure out what juices you. For me, it's kids and elderly now as well. I've always loved the elderly as well. But for me, that's what juices me. Maybe it's animals for you. Maybe it's the environment. Whatever it is, give back right now. Don't say, oh, well, Rod, he had money. That's why he did it. No, you want more money? Give back because you'll have more money faster. That's how God works. Or the universe, whatever you believe, that's how it works. Whatever you give, you get back at tenfold. So give back immediately.
Yeah, no, that's strong. When you mentioned the identity thing, I looked over and smiled at Jackie because I experienced the same thing. So I love traveling and experiencing the world and trying new foods and everything else. And when we ended up scaling our portfolio and I hit the milestone where I felt like, okay, I'm like $6.5 million. That's my target number. Once I have that, then I can actually like take a
Relax,
break.
exhale, right.
Yeah, relax. And just wait for the next season and decide what I want to do next. Cause that was my milestone. I want to travel as long as I want, do whatever I want with whoever I want. And I finally had that. And I hit, like you were saying, like a deep bout of depression.
Right.
And it startled me because I thought, like, I have everything I want. I can literally do whatever I want. I'm traveling Europe. I have no, like, time box on it. I can do this as long as I want. I just came off of some of the biggest wins of my career. Like, why do I feel this way? And I came to the same conclusion that you did, which is I don't care about what I've done. I care about what I'm doing. Yeah. And once I had wrapped up what I had done and I had hit those milestones that I was going for, I didn't have any other mountains to climb because I just climbed them all. I hadn't set those bigger goals. So with you, a question that I have is...
But by the way, let me interject one thing before your question. So that's one critical piece. As you grow, the next critical piece will be how much you give. How much you give back. And you're already giving back with your podcast. I'm sure you get a lot of accolades for your podcast. So that's the first step in that journey. But I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, like I'm a firm believer that you grow in wealth and whatever you want based on what you pour into other people. Yeah. So it's like if you can help 1,000 people achieve their dreams, then you will achieve your dream. 100%.
I've created. Let me rephrase that. My ecosystem has created a ton of millionaires. I've got a wall in my office down in the other building here with hundreds of thank you cards. I get love every single day. I get credit. I get cards. I get gifts. I get emails. It's like my greatest blessing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So my question to you is, as you drive and you grow in your success and what you're going towards, what keeps your drive going as opposed to slowing down?
Well, I have whys. I have new whys. It used to be the cars. I've had the Lamborghini and the Rolls and the Bentley and all this stupid shit. I've got probably $1.5 million worth of watches, just stupid crap that I thought was important at one time. But your goals evolve, and my goals have evolved, and my goals are a lot on the giving front. I have some materialistic goals still, to fly privately, for example, and get a bigger boat and things like that. But for the most part, as you grow, your goals definitely evolve, but it's critical that you reassociate with those and why they're important to you. A goal for me right now is finding love again. I'm recently, well, not recently, it's been 2.5 years. I've split up from my ex, and so that's another goal for me. That's another big why. And she's my best friend. It's just not romantic anymore. But so goals evolve as you grow and evolve.
That makes sense. So you mentioned not tying your identity to your vehicle, whatever
Correct.
that is. What do you then tie your identity to?
Yourself, your abilities, your power, your knowledge base, your network, all of your personal attributes that you grow and build over time. That's what you tie your identity to. The fact that you can fucking do anything you want, you set your mind to it. That's what you tie your identity to. Whatever you put your mind to is going to flourish, and you believe in yourself and you believe in that. That vehicle didn't work fine. Next.
Yeah. You've acquired 2,000 properties over your career.
More.
What systems do you put in place to build the deal flow and to build the teams that can actually assess, acquire, and manage those?
That's a very involved question. I mean, you use a CRM for the contacts. We use HubSpot for our outgoing, for all of our marketing and for our CRM. Actually, I haven't created, I'm sorry, one of my coaching students created this incredible CRM for my warriors to use that helped them raise money, deal evaluator software. But no, I mean, we're massively embracing AI right now. I mean, AI is just mind-blowing how powerful it is. It's incredible. I'm sure you are as well. It's just incredible. I mean, you come from that space. And I mean, my daughter is brilliant. She's literally Mensa, if you know what that means, IQ. And she's heavily involved in AI. I've got a kick-ass social marketing team, a marketing guy that helps as well. And we're just doing everything we can to incorporate. We've done the whole baby video thing now. And we're just anything that we can incorporate, but we need to use it more in our operations. That's the area that we're really looking at incorporating at. So I think that's the best answer to your question is if you're listening and you need to start just studying AI, utilizing AI, because anybody that doesn't is going to get left behind.
Yeah.
It's like your example in that hotel you bought when I interviewed you about a 90-year-old woman. I'm sure she had paper checks that she was using, and I mean, her reservation system was a joke, and that's what's going to happen. Anybody who doesn't use AI at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Jackie and I, when we showed up for the first day of due diligence, we showed up at about 10 o'clock at night. And at the front desk, there was a sign with a handwritten phone number on it. So we gave it a call. We woke up a gentleman and he said, "Oh, your keys are around the side of the building." We walked around the side of the building, and on the side was an envelope with our names written on them. We opened the envelope, and inside was a physical metal key and a hand-drawn map of where our room was. And those are the types of low-hanging fruit that you see all over the place right now. And that's something, so I have a community as well for helping people buy boutique hotels. And that's something that we push heavily is when we were in heavy acquisition mode, about 70% of the deals that we were looking at were from either retired baby boomers or people who had recently inherited properties from their parents, and they weren't in the hotel space, so they were just trying to cash out and get rid of it.
There are 10,000 people a day turning 65 in this country. There are 700,000 or 800,000 people turning 80, and a lot of them have businesses, and they want to sell those businesses. So there are so many opportunities to pick a vehicle right now, be it buying businesses. I wish there were two of me. One would be buying businesses, and certainly different real estate asset classes. And we teach them all in my training. But I mean, if this is a target-rich environment. Decide how you're going to capitalize on the opportunity that's coming, because it's coming. It's incredible opportunities in real estate coming. I mean, there's a lot of deals in trouble because of the adjustable rate debt on these properties. There's a wall of debt that's coming due. So there's incredible opportunities coming in real estate and in buying businesses. So
so going back to your journey of losing 50 million in 2008 and then recovering from that, what should people be doing to position themselves now for a potential recession coming up?
Figure out what it is you might enjoy doing. The key is enjoying it. Okay. That's the secret sauce. So try different things. Or if you don't like that, maybe learn from somebody on how to buy a business. Or, I suppose you can invest in the stock market. That makes my toes curl, but whatever. Figure out what you'd like to do and learn it. Get up to speed as fast as you possibly can. Start listening to the podcast. Dive in. Learn whatever vehicle it is that you think you might like to try, and then get off your butt and actually make it happen. Massive freaking action. That's the key. And so, because the opportunities are here. So there's no excuses. And I get hate online every day too. I get love every day, but also get hate from, these I hate to say it, entitled pussies that won't get off their butts and go make something happen. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And I mean, there's a lot of entitled people out there right now. And, you see these videos of, there was like that kid in Starbucks and he had to work a double shift and he was crying because he had to work a double shift. I mean, good Lord, come on. I mean, seriously, get up, make something happen for yourself. The opportunities are endless. You just got to learn what it is you want and go take action. No, and it doesn't take money. It takes grit and it takes desire. Do my goal setting workshop so you get the desire and then go do it.
Yeah, that's a big theme of the podcast actually, is that whatever your dream is, that thing that's just like a splinter in your mind that you can't get rid of, that you feel called to go do, that thing is not out of reach. It's well within reach. And not only that, it's in the palm of your hand. All you have to do is close your fist. Yeah, we've had people who have listened to the show and they have started their own businesses. They've quit their W-2 and they've gone out and leapt for the things. And I mean, it's back to like nobody's born incredible. They simply took the right steps and had the right mindset to do those incredible things.
Love it, man. What a awesome legacy you're leaving, brother.
So I'll ask you one more question, then we can wrap this up. So you've said that when interest rates drop, home prices will drop. Why do you say that?
And I want to tell you this, that I made that statement based on the thought that there's a lot of inventory that will hit the market when that happens. Like there'll be a glut of inventory. I could be dead wrong. My kids tell me, are you tired of being wrong? I'm wrong all the freaking time. Okay. So, don't hold me to that particular one. I could be dead wrong on that because when interest rates drop, obviously the market will pick back up if they drop. I'm going to tell you something. Into real estate, when I was 18, interest rate was 18%. And we made it work. I bought houses at 18% interest, okay? And when it hit 7%, we're like doing backflips, like, holy crap, at 7%, can you believe it? And that's where it's at right now. Just to give you some context, okay? So they may not drop. Don't get too hung up on the fact they may not drop. I hope they do because, man, it's killing the economy right now. But, I don't know if that statement was accurate. And I'm again, first one to admit I'm wrong all the time. We'll see. But the reason I said that is I heard someone else say it and it resonated with me that there would be a ton of inventory would hit the market. And it's a supply and demand thing. There's a ton of supply. The demand goes down. The price goes down. So who knows? We'll see. Rod's Links. Yeah, go to rodslinks.com. There's a bunch of free books there. My best-selling book is there. You pay $6. You can get the physical copy shipped to you. But it's a ton of other free books, and they're best-in-class books as well. They're not a bunch of crap. They're really good. And my boot camp site is there. My goal-setting workshop is there. All my Instagram, all my social stuff is there. I answer pretty much every question. So if you got a question, just ask it on my social, and I'll answer it. But, yeah. When you love what you do, work is play, and I freaking love this.
Hell yeah. We always wrap up the show with a question because we believe that questions are the answer. So what do you believe is a question that people need to ask themselves or others to be successful in the space? I love it.
All right, brother.
Rod, thanks for being on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.